Hi, I'm in my polytunnel. Hi, I'm in my polytunnel. I'm just doing a quick update because I've been busy over the last week or so. Well, over last weekend, I guess. So the whole place looked like a right mess, and there were weeds everywhere and rubbish and all sorts of things. So I've tidied it all up. Well, I've tidied it up a lot. So I cleared all these beds, and I took the there was a wooden frame around like there is here. Now this end, there's a couple of beds that are covered up. They're weeded, but they're covered up. And I've got them, I'm using them as tables, and I'm growing seedlings on them. So I've got different tomatoes, peppers, aubergine, all sorts of things. More things underneath this cloche, peas and beans. There's a huge tray of peas and beans. Different lettuces and kohlrabi and brassicas, corn on the cob, and squash and pumpkins. Oh, squash and pumpkins are in there. The courgettes are in there. Two sorts, yellow and green, and they'll go into either pots or into the beds inside. Now, you can see there's a huge pile of rubbish in the middle down there, and that's from everywhere, all underneath the bathtubs and everything. Now, the bathtubs was a bathtub aquaponics system, which it still is, but I've managed to turn this floating raft bed, which is what this is. It's a pond, but it's a floating raft bed pond. So I'll just take you through a very quick through go through the aquaponics system. So there's a pump which is actually out the water at the minute, and it goes into the fish tank, which is an old wheelie bin. Everything's recycled. The ammonia rich water, so the fish poo rich water, comes out of the fish tank wheelie bin, through the pump, through that black hose, and it goes through and into each of the bathtubs. And in each of the bathtubs there is pea gravel, which is clay pebbles, because it's a neutral media. And then in each of the, this is a very good example, in each of the beds there's a automatic bell siphon. Bear with me. So the automatic bell siphon has a lid that goes over like that, which causes a vacuum, and inside there's a standpipe and there's some slits. So the water fills up the bathtub through the pipe. It's not a pipe going in, but you know what I mean. And once it gets to a certain level within this pipe, it goes over the top of that standpipe and causes the bell siphon to work automatically, and it sucks all the water out of the bathtub in one go, because that lid's over there. And the water will then come out, and it comes out of the plug hole, and then it will go into a floating, bear with me, it'll go into a floating raft bed like this. Now, it used to go into one, and it was all piped across and into the centre of the polytunnel. And what I'm doing is I'm moving all the beds so that they go underneath each bathtub, so the water pours in, and then there'll be a pipe that goes down the side underneath, and it'll go from one to the other to the other to the other. Now, when the water goes into the when the water goes into the bathtub, the nitrification process happens. So the water goes in, it fills up the bathtub in the clay pebbles. It goes over the top of the standpipe and switches the automatic bell siphon on. It gets emptied out into the floating raft bed, and when it goes through the gravel, nitrification happens. So it's like an open fish tank filter. So the oxygen and the water, as it goes through the gravel, there's natural bacteria that will build up. I can seed it a little bit, but the natural bacteria will build up, and it will turn the ammonia rich water from ammonia to nitrite, and then to nitrate. And the nitrate rich water will then pass into the floating raft bed, or the pond, where the plants that are floating on the top in floating raft beds, which are those sort of polystyrene type raft beds with little pots in, the plants that are floating on the surface will absorb the nitrate rich water, and they'll absorb the nitrates out of the water, and then the water will then go on from each pond back into the goldfish pond, and so it cleans the water, and it's a closed loop system. So the only thing that's going in is the fish food, and sometimes I add a little bit of something else directly into the media bed just to give it a little boost. But that's how the nitrification happens in this floating raft bed system, in this aquaponics system, bathtub aquaponics. Now, as I said, I like to reuse and recycle things, so that's why I've got wheelie bins as the ponds. I've made the ponds themselves, as you can see. I've just done this one and turned it around so it fits underneath the bathtub, so the water comes out and goes directly into the floating raft bed underneath. And all of these ones will have, this one will be cut in half, and this will go under 2 of the bathtubs, that one there will go under another one, and then I've got to make up a further 3 ponds, floating raft beds, to go under the first and the second from last and last bathtub. I'm not too sure whether I'm going to make one for each of them. I might skip the last two, the last one and the first one, just to give myself some more room. But that's how it will be set up. Now, in the floating raft bed ponds, like this one here, they will have, some of them will have half covered with floating rafts. Some of them might have a gutter system in where the plants sit inside a gutter and they float on the surface of the water, sort of thing, so that their roots are in the water and they absorb the nitrates. In each of the ponds there'll be different types of fish, which I have in my home aquarium, and I built up numbers so that they go into the outside ponds, and they live in the outside ponds, and then I just feed direct into the pond a little tiny bit, and they breed within each pond. Some of them will also have aquatic plants in, and I'll be growing fruit and veg in the media bed and on the top of the floating raft bed pond. And then I'll also have goldfish or koi indoors, and I've got all different types of fish to go in here as well. I just wanted to bring you in for a quick polytunnel update as I'm in here and I'm doing lots of work. The hole over there is going to be filled with the other fish tank, which is another wheelie bin, which I've got to clean out and fix a couple of little leaks before it goes back in the hole, and then that will be another part of the system as well. I've also got these 85 litre water troughs. I'm going to take the duckweed off this one, and again it'll have different types of fish in, which I'll breed, perhaps guppies, platies, mollies, swordtails. I've got all those at home as well. I just need to wait for the water to warm up and the temperature of the polytunnel to warm up. It's probably in the 20 degrees sort of bracket at the minute, but I've got my air vent on the back of the polytunnel open. I've got an in-ground pond which has got Venus flytraps. It's a carnivorous plant pond which also has white cloud minnow in, and I've got different plants around the edge, ferns and woundwort, which stops stinging nettle stings, and I've got foxgloves and all sorts of things. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring you in for an update on my lovely polytunnel. If you're interested in having a polytunnel of your own, go on to my YouTube channel, Ian's Field of Greens 2021, and have a look at that, and go back to 2018 and you'll see how to build a polytunnel, because I built this myself with a friend of mine who's a marine, and we dug all the holes by hand and we put it up. It's 20 foot wide by 60 foot long. There's a 20 by 15 foot shed on the end that's not fixed to the ground, it's just sort of floating, made out of pallets, got a wood burner in. But like I say, if you want to know about having a polytunnel and that, it's got everything in there, where to get it, how to build it, whether to have vents on it, whether to have staging, everything that you need to know. And just have a look and you'll see for yourself about building a poly. For everyone as well, I'm sweaty and hot, and I'm having a good day in my polytunnel. Cheers.